Hi, everybody. Welcome to a new week, new edition of Houston Sports Weekly, a weekly podcast on KPRC2 Plus, click2houston.com, and wherever you can get your podcasts, you can listen in, you can watch. We are here to hang out with you for the next few minutes. Randy McAvoy, Ari Alexander with you. Hope you had a great week, and thanks for tuning in. We got a lot to get to over the next half hour or so. And we'll get to some Rockets and Texans news likely there in segment 2. But let's start segment 1. And one of the good stories this week, the way the Astros have been playing. New series starts tonight against the Oakland A's, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Ari, I mean, you look the way the team's playing. What is it, 7 out of 8 now they've won?
Yeah, and just swept the Cubs and going into a 6 out of 9 against the worst team in baseball. So I think Dusty keeps saying this phrase, you want to get distance from 500, and it looks like it's looking up. I think they're 5 games over now. You're playing the worst team in the league for 2 out of your next 3 series. Mm-hmm. The Brewers are solid, but certainly beatable. And I think there's a chance you can go something like 7-2 over these next 9 games and put some real distance.
Yeah, waiting on Jose Altuve. As you listen to this on Friday, there's a chance. We don't know anything. The team hasn't announced anything. When you look at some of the wounded coming back, Jose Altuve is the next one in line for the Astros. And, man, it's been a quick recovery. He's healed very fast ahead of schedule. About roughly 2 weeks ahead of schedule, I think that's what they were saying. He last weekend was with Sugar Land, the Space Cowboys, for a few games, and got in a couple of games with Corpus. But he hadn't really had results at the plate, but he feels good. It's just right now it's a lot of timing because he's been out since really would have been spring training. Yeah,
I don't know if there's a whole lot of correlation to results at the minor league level to how they'll do when they're back. You just want to see the guy be healthy and get your timing down because – at the same time, what if he killed it, right? Like, he's hitting 600 in AAA.
It's minor league guys.
Yeah, like, who cares? He's Jose Altuve. Like, we know what he can do at the major league level. So I think you're probably going to see him back this weekend against Oakland, which is really, really fast. This is like best case scenario. Mm-hmm. And it's good because every other guy that's been hurt for the Astros, it's been like worst case scenario. Lance McCullers Jr. is probably coming back not until June. You got Michael Brantley playing in minor league games and then had to get shut down again. Like, these are all bad. And then Altuve comes in, has this, freak injury, breaks his thumb getting hit by a pitch in the World Baseball Classic, and the best case scenario was you get him back late May, and we're getting him back late May.
Yeah, and so a lot of buzz. You and I were talking, and some others around Minute Maid Park. Okay, so Jose Altuve is going to come back, whether it's tonight, the weekend, whatever. What are you going to do with Mauricio Dubon? I mean, here's a guy who's been one of the great stories of the Astros this season to probably help them be where they are right now. They're over 4 over 500, but for a while they were right at it or a little under. I attribute that to a lot of the success that Mauricio Dubon has had to really give you a pop offensively that nobody expected when he was forced to really take over this job with Altuve being out.
Yeah, it's good to see him go back to his regular role, and that's what makes Mauricio Dubon so useful. He's not an everyday guy. He's a guy that can do a little bit of everything. Play second short, can play 2 or 3 outfield positions. Mm-hmm. If you need him to take over first, I'm sure he could handle that decently. He's a good defensive player, and Dusty can use him in various different ways as a late-inning defensive replacement, all sorts of these different things. And you get pop back in the lineup with Jose Altuve, which is something that Dubon doesn't have. I think one thing that's sort of missing from how nice of a story that Dubon is that it's a lot of singles, not a whole lot of extra base hits. There's not a whole lot of walks. The good thing is he doesn't strike out a lot, but from an OPS standpoint, he's a sub 100 OPS guy, and so there's no power there. So whatever he's adding to the lineup, he's keeping things afloat, but he's not standing out. He's not an above average hitter. And so that's one thing that you are gaining back when you get Jose Altuve.
Yeah, so we'll see Altuve getting checked out yesterday, so we'll see what direction the team goes. By the time you're listening to this, the decision might be made. So a lot of people think it's going to be this weekend, if not tonight, maybe tomorrow, but it's Oakland. And I was kidding with some of the officials with the Astros earlier this week at Minute Maid. I said, I bet y'all hope he comes back against Oakland because, Oakland's probably the worst team in baseball. Ticket sales probably aren't great for Minute Maid Park, but you get Jose Altuve coming back, just like we saw at Sugar Land. They sold out every game the ones he played, and I imagine the Astros would welcome his return.
Yeah, of course. I mean, weekend series, you want to pack in Minute Maid Park. You want to see these Astros potentially. They genuinely they should sweep Oakland's horrible.
I would hope so.
Yeah, and the funny thing is they're throwing 3 lefties against the Astros. You see the way their pitching's lined up. It's lefty, lefty, lefty.
And weren't the last 2 in the Chicago series?
Yeah, so you're going to see 5 lefties in a row.
Crazy,
yeah,
man. That's crazy. Let's talk a little bit about, before we have some sound coming up after that walk-off win they had on Wednesday night against the Cubs to wrap up that series sweep. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's talk about Brantley, though. That's a concern right now because here's Brantley, a guy you've been waiting on, coming off the shoulder injury, finally made it back to rehab. What appeared to be a pretty smooth rehab. He played, 6, 7, 8 games, something like that with Sugarland. Didn't hear anything negative. He hit the ball fairly decently and appeared to be okay. Then he had the setback, the dreaded setback, enough where they didn't address it on the road trip. They actually sent him back to Houston. I think Dusty said yesterday that there was some improvement, but he didn't elaborate much. But at his age, I'm concerned right now. Have we seen the last of him?
I mean, the inflammation's going down, according to Dusty, on that shoulder, the surgically repaired shoulder that he has. It was kind of a weird signing to some degree. Mm-hmm. It's a guy that it's a guy that's good in the clubhouse, a guy that people like. The upside of him is a very, very good hitter. He's an okay fielder. He adds to the lineup. So if he can be healthy in the playoffs, that makes your lineup super long. 1 through 7 is almost impossible to get through when you just see the back-to-back-to-back, the way that they stack those guys.
Yeah.
The issue, and I think one of the big reasons that they signed Brantley, is because there were really no other good options. And so do you take a gamble on a guy who could be injured, but that you know what you're getting in him personally, you know what you're getting him on the field if he stays on the field, versus we know the Astros don't like doing massive long-term deals. So do you spend $150 million? It took $162 for an 8-year deal to get Brandon Nimmo. That's a spot they could have used to put him in center. They're not going to spend $160 million on Brandon Nimmo. You look at, I can pull up the list. I have a list of all the free agents of the left fielders, and it's just like nothing. You have here Brantley, A.J. Pollock, who went to the Mariners on a 1-year, 7 deal. Joey Gallo, who is killing it for the Twins, but he's coming off the worst year of his career.
Yeah.
So do you take a risk on Joey Gallo, who had just horrendous for the Yankees, and he's doing great right now for the Twins? But that was a risk at the time, and he also, by the way, signed for $11 million, so you'd be paying him $1 million less. So before the season, or do you give 5 years, $75 million to Andrew Benintendi? He's a solid player. He's okay. He's on the White Sox, but he also hasn't been as good as his peak when he was on the Red Sox.
Yeah, a little injury prone.
Yeah, and then you look at the rest of this list. Tommy Pham, struggling on the Mets. David Peralta, he's okay. Jurickson Profar took very late to get signed by the Rockies. Jock Peterson signed a qualifying offer, so he wasn't even available. Corey Dickerson, Tyler Naquin, who I'm pretty sure is from the Cypress area. Chad Pinder, who I know the Astros checked in on, didn't really want. And Alex Dickerson. Those are your options. That's it.
Yeah.
In left field.
And then what's the next step? Then
you keep Brantley, or you look at center field, right? They could have used a center fielder. It's Nimmo, and then below that, it's Kevin Kiermaier, good fielder, not a great hitter. Kevin Pillar, who was in AAA a bunch last year, and then Michael Hermosillo, Magneuris Sierra, Jackie Bradley Jr., Lewis Brinson, who the Astros got off their AAA team last year, and Cody Bellinger, who I sort of brought up, and Bellinger just got hurt at Minute Maid.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out with Brantley. Again, age is a factor coming off the injury he had and now the setback. Be great to see him, but what bothers me is when they talk about should Brantley return, you hear some of the so-called experts saying just assuming he'll be inserted immediately in the lineup. And it's like, if I'm Dusty Baker with the layoff that Brantley has had, I'm not just throwing him out there in the lineup without hesitation. How about you?
Well, I mean, he's obviously going to need to play, but I think that's why you probably keep it makes sense to have, if once Brantley returns, a 1-for-1 swap with Corey Julks, because they sort of do the same things. But you might need to ease him in. Play 1, sit 1, play 2, sit 1, play 2, sit 1. And that's where you need Corey Julks, because he's been okay. And that's where I think I'm a little worried for some of the guys that I like personally a lot, that I think are going to have trouble staying up in the Major League roster once you have Altuve and Brantley back. I think Cesar Salazar probably the first guy to go down once Altuve comes back. You don't necessarily need 3 catchers.
Yeah, you like to see him just play, get some playing time.
Yeah,
just try to stay sharp here.
And then I think Hensley's probably the guy that goes down if Brantley returns. He's just kind of been struggling at the plate, and Julks has been a little better. And I think he, once maybe Brantley starts feeling good and there's no inflammation and you can play him 5 days a week, then maybe you flip out Julks for Hensley because Hensley's got the positional versatility.
Yeah, we'll get to that Astros sound in early segment 2. We'll finish it off here in the next 3 minutes or so. But want to ask you as well, when you look at this lineup, you've got still the situation at catcher. You got Jainer Diaz, you got Maldonado. There's still a lot of people that want less of Maldonado out there, more of Diaz. And Diaz, maybe a guy that's going to get consistent playing time. I mean, we know the gun that he has behind the plate. You got to get the bat going, but you don't want him sitting on the bench not getting reps.
Well,
got to have him out there during the course of a week. Split them. More Maldonado, more Diaz. Where do you stand on that?
I would split them, but I sort of, and this is my guess, and I haven't asked Dusty about this. I could. I think the reason you're seeing so much Maldonado is because the Astros started slow, and Maldonado is kind of your high leverage guy. If you need a big win in a big spot and a guy to take care of the pitchers when you absolutely have to have a win, even though he's got some deficiencies on the offensive side, you want Maldonado. He game plans, he does all these great intangible things that you don't see.
Right. So
the Astros started really slow. I think Dusty had a little bit of like, all right, we just need to keep putting Maldonado out there until we get some separation from 500. I think maybe they have this good week this week. They get the separation. They get maybe to the top of the AL West. Then you start seeing more of probably what everyone wants. I assume Dusty also wants to see Jainer Diaz play a little bit or more rest for Maldonado because you can't have him catching 125 games and then expect him to have this big role in the playoffs. He needs some rest too. And last year, he didn't play that much more than the 90 games he needed to vest his contract, and they traded for Christian Vasquez, who was really good. He just got a 3-year, $30 million deal. Jainer Diaz is a
I really like Vasquez a lot.
Yeah, he's a good player. Jainer Diaz is a hyped prospect. He needs to play. He can play, and if he has more consistent playing time, maybe the hitting improves because you talk to any guy on the Astros around the league, if you're not seeing consistent at-bats, it is hard to get in a rhythm. You do that with Jainer Diaz where, catches twice, sits, DH, catch, sit. He starts to get in a rhythm, and you might have a really good offensive catcher. It's something you haven't had for a while, and then you still get all the good stuff from Maldonado. It's not like Maldonado's going to quit game planning. He's a great team player.
Yeah, absolutely. You love having him on your roster and out there often, but if he's not producing offensively and he's your weak link in the lineup and you got a guy like Diaz who's got all that potential, I like to see a little bit more of him. Hey, before we go to break, real quick, we'll go a little longer on this segment. I want to ask you about Alex Bregman, too. We'll talk a little bit of that in segment 2. But real quick, Jose Abreu. Here's another guy that's been a major disappointment. And you look at Dusty's watching what he's saying when he's asked about it. But he keeps emphasizing, hey, when this went down, we did not have a general manager in place during the offseason, during this critical time. He was relying on, in this case, Jeff Bagwell and team owner Jim Crane to strike a deal. You could tell that's not obviously what Dusty wanted, and now it's kind of backfiring. This signing, paying him a lot of money and getting very little results and average defense as well. All right, that's going to do it for segment number 1 here on Houston Sports Weekly. We got a whole nother segment coming up. We're going to take a 2-minute break. When we come back, a little bit more on the Astros. We got some sound to bring you. We'll also dive into the Rockets news post-NBA lottery, and we'll hit on the Texans as well. Segment 2, Houston Sports Weekly, coming right back. We'll see you in 2 minutes. Welcome back to Houston Sports Weekly. Randy McAvoy, Ari Alexander with you. Great segment 1, talking all things Astros. If you're watching or you are listening right now, we appreciate that. Going on, we're not quite to a year on this podcast, but appreciate all the folks listening each and every week. We just dive in, weigh in on our opinions, kind of what we're seeing out and about. And right now, a lot to talk about on the sports scene in Houston with the Astros. And soon Rockets and Texans as well. We'll get to them in a minute, but I want to circle back if we can on the Astros already before we have some sound we're going to run. Alex Bregman, we ended last segment talking about Jose Abreu. Alex Bregman's been a disappointment too, and he's the first to admit this is not the start he envisioned. He's always been a slow starter, but about now is when he usually starts finding his groove. Now, he's had some flashes in the last 10 days, which has been a good sign after he made that tweak.
Yeah, that's one thing. I had some guys that I talked to around baseball, league sources, if you will, will discuss different things, and they're worried about Bregman. And I've gotten some messages like, what's wrong with Bregman? Is he going to turn it around? So, Alex, big friend of the program here, but, he'll be the first to know when he's not playing it well. He's a guy that knows when he's good, knows when he's not. I think he'll be fine because if you look at the underlying metrics, he's doing all the same stuff he's always doing, right? Mm-hmm. He's striking out actually less. He's walking at the same great rate he's always walking at. He's not a exit velocity monster. He never was. He never will be. He's a guy it's more of it's like a cerebral type of baseball, not just I hit the ball hard and it goes out. Everything has a purpose to it. The way that he hits home runs even has a purpose to it. It's not like, I ran into the ball and I'm big and strong and it goes out. It's a specific type of swing that he does using, loading the scapula to flick it out over into the Crawford boxes. Everything has a purpose, and you saw that. He hit a home run on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Not a big exit velocity home run, not super crushed.
Just enough to get out there.
The same exact thing he always does. And so I'm seeing enough of that, I think, from Bregman that he looks similar to what he typically is. Mm-hmm. I think the average will climb. He'll be okay.
MLB Network, several days ago, they were talking about Bregman and his struggles so far this season and the recent adjustment he made. They were showing kind of a side-by-side clip of where the bat, that straight stance he's got or that he had. That bat's straight up, and then now he's
resting it on the shoulder,
resting it a little bit, cocking it a little bit. You could tell he's been working on it behind the scenes. I mean, he's a guy that's going to look at film. He's going to break it all down and try to figure it out because it's unacceptable to him. He's the first to tell you that, but he's had some results since he's done that. I don't know what's helping him with timing on the swing or not, but he's got some results.
That's all it is for him, and he's a guy that every single swing he takes is watched back. If you watch, he's the guy that started the whole thing where you watch batting practice with the Astros. They have an iPad that they go up, and I was asking, do you guys have metrics on the iPad? No, it's just video. Mm-hmm. And so Bregman will take his little round of swings in the cage, and he'll go back and just sift through and go, all right, what am I? And he's looking for these really specific, did I load my backside the way that I want to? Did I come to the ball? Did my foot strike where it needs to be?
Yeah.
Alex Bregman is a genius when it comes to all these tiny little mechanical details. That's what he thinks about constantly all day when he's not spending time with his wife and playing with Knox, right? But you ask, it's funny where he'll give some boring answers sometimes in interviews. Then as soon as you ask him about the specific granular mechanical details, he just goes in.
He's got it down.
He understands so much about hitting, and that's where he knows what's wrong. He knows why he's not hitting, and it's probably a minor mechanical adjustment, and that's why you see he's not doing he has that little mini Gary Sheffield thing he does. He's not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
The hands are quieter, probably something where they were moving to a spot that they weren't supposed to at a timing place they weren't supposed to. He's adjusting.
Yeah, and one minor adjustment can make a difference. Hey, we got some sound in. We want to run now about 2.5 minutes worth from Minute Maid Park after that comeback win, the walk-off courtesy of Kyle Tucker. You edited some of this as well. It's going to be Tucker. Who else was talking?
Tucker, Bregman, Dusty Baker, just talking about kind of the week that these guys have had, or at least the last few games where they've just played a little bit better. So let's hear from some of these top Astros on how this week is going.
Yeah, I think it just showed the character of these guys, never stopping, continuing to fight. Obviously, we got down in a hole early, but our bullpen came in and did a really good job leaving it there. And the offense just continued to battle all day long. And Smiley was really tough. He's got really good pitches, so he was keeping us off balance. Well, I guess I saved enough in the legs for the first time for that one. No, Tucker would have killed me if I got thrown out twice for him.
Get thrown out twice after one of your hits. Just what were you thinking when you hit that ball, and you thinking you had a good shot to score?
I knew we at least tied the game, and I was hoping Gary would send him, and he did. And he did a good job booking around bases and scoring there, so it worked out well. Like you said, being down 5 runs, coming back, and the one inning to complete a sweep heading into Latte is nice. Now we can enjoy it, have the rest day tomorrow and come back, for our Oakland series. So, it's really nice having collectively have a lot of good ABs there in the ninth against some really good pitchers. So, that's kind of the bright spot, and coming back against a really good team is nice.
I always say if you can win the 8th and 9th, you got a chance to win the ball game. Boy, we had some real heroes tonight, and the guys came through. It was a wonderful win. That was the win of the year. I mean, that's great, especially right before an off day too. So, and the thing I appreciate is that, not many of the fans left, and it means a lot. It means a lot as far as energy in this building and belief that your team can come back. And our bullpen did an outstanding job. We were down to our last couple guys in the bullpen. We wanted to win it right then, and that was big. That was real big. Well, he was pretty good. I mean, he got beat on his cutter tonight, and the cutter, all 3 home runs are on the cutter that didn't cut, and when they don't cut, they cut over the fence, and that's what happened tonight. But like we got him out of there just in time tonight, and then our bullpen, took over.
All right, good insight there from the Astros after that victory. A good way to end that series. They completed the sweep, which going in, you got to take advantage of the schedule against teams like Chicago and the Oakland A's coming up this weekend as well. Start piling up some wins, but it's their 3rd consecutive, Anaheim, Chicago, and now the Chicago White Sox, now the Cubs. So 3 straight series wins. They're making progress here.
You'll get 4. Yeah, you'll get 4 against the A's. You should. Milwaukee's actually pretty good, but the Astros can beat any team in baseball. That should be 5, and then you should beat the A's again. There's a chance that they can win 6 straight series and just kind of be what you're supposed to be. They're supposed to be one of the best teams in baseball.
Absolutely. All right, Astros with momentum, and we'll see how it goes wrapping up this homestand and on the road starting next week. Let's shift gears now. Got a couple minutes left, a few minutes left in the podcast this week. Some quick hits. Let's begin with the Rockets post-NBA lottery. People's dreams were shattered. They're praying for Victor. It did not work out. Rockets, in fact, got the 4th overall pick. And you can almost feel it's like a balloon bursting. Everybody's a deflating feeling when knowing you didn't get Victor.
Yeah, I mean, the Rockets may have been praying for Victor, but Victor was praying to not play in Houston. If you saw his reaction, beIN Sports, which typically shows a lot of international sports, soccer games, things like that, were in France, and you saw the reaction. They announced them 4th, and Victor kind of does a fist pump. He didn't want to play in Houston. Mm-hmm. He's a guy that grew up apparently as a Spurs fan because of Tony Parker, the greatest French player of all time. So he's going to land where he wants to land, and now the Rockets are going to have to figure out what they're going to do. Do you keep the 4th pick and go for Amen Thompson, who's in the OTE league? He's got a twin brother who's going to be drafted 3-4 spots later than him. Is a guy who's hyper athletic but not a great shooter, which sounds very familiar with a lot of the guys in the roster. Or do you trade up? Do you find a way to get up to 3? Because a lot of people right now are saying that Brandon Miller could go at 2 over Scoot Henderson, and then you can get Scoot Henderson at 3, which can be harder than to trade up to 2. Is James Harden going to return? Which kind of every aspect of people talking to the league is that he will, that it's just sort of going to happen.
Hopefully they don't give him like a 4-year contract. If
he apparently wants one.
He wants one, but man, God, that would be a disaster. If you are going to bring it back, I don't think they should, but if they do, hopefully it's a shorter-term deal.
So there's a lot of moving parts, and then the coaching staff's got to get set with Ime Udoka, and he's got some guys. I think you see if the Heat beat the Celtics, I think this goes quick because there's a bunch of guys that were on Udoka's roster that had to go and coach with Joe Mazzulla that weren't necessarily Mazzulla's guys, they were Udoka's guys. Ben Sullivan is a name to watch, and then Aaron Miles, another guy.
All right, so that's the Rockets' latest, and they will have the draft, I think, June 26th or something like that, later part of June. And eventually we'll get to hear, as the summer progresses, we'll hear from Ime Udoka, I'm sure, moving forward. Real quick before we wrap it up, Texans OTAs resume. Next media session is going to be Tuesday, and we will hear from C.J. Stroud. He was not made available at rookie camp, but the list came out, and he is going to talk on Tuesday. So I think a lot of people were looking forward to hearing from him.
Yeah, and CJ's got a kind of an interesting personality. He's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder. He's fun to hear from. I think he sometimes says some stuff that he shouldn't say, like the day before the draft when he was talking about the S2 results and things like that. But I think he's going to energize the fan base because he's an interesting guy. He's personable and funny, and you saw that at the intro presser with Nick Casario and D'Amico Ryans. Like, he's got some personality to him, and I think that Houston fans who just, yes, everyone wants to win, but I think they want to be entertained, and that's something that we haven't seen with the Texans. Not only were they bad, they were bad in an uninteresting way. So even if they are bad this year, at least they're going to be entertainingly bad. It's something, right? Like, you got to improve to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully progress. People just want to see competitive football. They're going to love D'Amico Ryans just with his history here. He's a very likable guy. Good personality. I think we're going to get good sound from him at his news conferences. I don't know if he'll go in head coaching mode or not, but hopefully
I think he will.
Yeah, he's going to be fun to cover for sure. And the OTAs continue next week, and then you got the mini camp, actually for a couple of weeks, then mini camps middle of June, and they break for big camp coming up, I believe July 27th is going to be the first workout. So anyway, so that's plenty of Astros talk, latest on the Rockets and the Texans as well. As we mentioned at the top, a lot going on here in the H-Town sports scene, but we wanted to talk about it with you here on Houston Sports Weekly. We'll do it every Friday. Click to Houston.com, KPRC2+, and we will hang out with you for about a half hour each week. So we'll say so long for now. For Ari Alexander, I'm Randy McElvoy. Have a great weekend, and we will talk once again next week right here on Houston Sports Weekly.